Welcome back, Take His Whistle podcast. We got a college football episode for you guys. Just a lot of transfer portal stuff, a lot of recruiting stuff, and then obviously some playoff stuff. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in a couple seconds.
Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins! Oh my God! Anderson for the win! Right back! Auburn's going to win the football game!
Let's it fly!
Oh my goodness! Touchdown LSU! They win the game!
Back today, so I got time to be tripping and writing no love song. Yeah, writing no love song. We all experience love.
Welcome back to another episode of the Take His Whistle podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and as always, I'm joined by my only co-host and good friend, Parker.
What's going on, everybody?
And today we got a college football episode for you guys, and me and Parker kind of just did this because we felt like there was just too much to talk about as far as the transfer portal goes and the college football playoffs goes, and also some recruiting stuff in there. But the NFL episode will be there for you guys on Thursday, or Friday, but
One of the two.
Yeah, just so I know it's a bit weird to have a schedule shift, but hey, we're trying our best here. But off of that, Parker, where would you like to start?
Yeah, I think that we start with the college playoffs. Two teams got left out, being Georgia and Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of controversy in between, mainly Florida State not getting in, being an undefeated team. Josh, do you want to talk about why you think it is that they did not get in?
Yeah, so I'll try to make it short because this is our second take due to some technical difficulties. So, but to, I guess, summarize it, really all I said was I do think FSU got screwed. I think they should have made it. However, I think the committee did the right thing with the situation that they were given. As far as Michigan and Washington go, they were already a lock. They don't really matter in this situation. But as far as Texas and Alabama go, you can't put one of those teams in without putting the other team in. And so I think that's just the way it goes. And I think also a big part that played into it is money, marketing, and just the whole business side of college football, because obviously it's not just college football. We all know that business goes into it. We see it every year with recruiting and the transfer portal. So they're just out there trying to get as much money as possible, and I think they gave us the best bang for our buck with this playoffs and these four teams. And I think it'll be a fun and entertaining playoffs. But yes, I do think FSU got screwed.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think being the first Power 5 conference to go undefeated and not make the playoffs is a screw job, and it's not fair, especially if you're a Florida State fan. But at the same time, strength of schedule matters. It matters. When you are playing teams that are not on the same level as other teams, it's going to show. And it's not something that just because you are in a Power 5 conference mean you are automatically at the top. I mean, Florida State, and not just Florida State, but also ACC fans, they are so quick to say that the SEC is in a down year. This is a down year for the SEC. And statistically, it is. It really is. If you look at the SEC matched up against the other Power 5 conferences, we struggle, especially against the ACC. But you look a little bit deeper into it.
Those were all very poor matchups, though. Very
Correct.
poor Like we're talking like top ACC teams playing bottom SEC teams. So
Correct.
That argument's. I'm sorry, ACC fans. I'm sorry, Louisville fans, because I know Louisville fans love to say this. On Twitter, as a Louisville fan and as a Louisville Twitter enthusiast, Louisville fans are so quick to pull out the 6-4 ACC versus SEC argument against Kentucky fans specifically. Hey guys, we still lost to them. We still lost to them. We're still on a 5-game losing streak. So I don't know where your argument is. If you want to brag about our top teams in our conference beating their bottom feeders, then by all means keep going at it, but your point's really going nowhere. I'm just going to say it.
And, I added everything up. So if Louisville had a 2-loss season and lost to Kentucky, you know where that would put them in the SEC? It would put them at 5. They would be the 5th best team in the SEC.
As a whole, or specifically in like East or West?
No, as a whole. Behind Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, and Ole Miss. Louisville would be right there with a loss to Kentucky.
I'd take that low-key.
Missouri, which is good, yeah.
I'd take that low-key.
And so, that's another argument that Louisville fans have is that we've never won the SEC. I'm like, you do understand that, like,
it's hard.
with two losses, you have no chance. You have no chance of making the SEC championship with 2 losses. And that's a great season. Louisville made the ACC championship with 2 losses. So, you for Florida State fans, the team that you played in the ACC championship with, by no means is this any hate on Louisville. Louisville had a historic year. It doesn't compete with the other big dogs from the other conferences. You beat LSU. You did. Yeah.
I was just going to say, you just mentioned LSU. I'm sure maybe you were going to bring it up in a couple moments, but Florida State's best win is LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go look at the team that beat them out for the playoffs, Alabama. Well, LSU is Alabama's 4th best win.
Right.
It just doesn't. It just doesn't compare. It just doesn't compete.
Alabama also beat Ole Miss, which Ole Miss beat LSU as well. So if you're talking key wins, what to a committee, what is better? Your top 2 key wins for Florida State is Louisville and LSU. But then you look over at Alabama, their 2 key wins is Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss or Georgia or Louisville and LSU. One does, it just doesn't match up, unfortunately. It really doesn't. And I genuinely think even if Georgia were to beat Alabama, that Florida State still doesn't get in. I think Texas gets in over them as well. Because, they did beat Alabama. They have a better win. Alabama's a better win than everything else. Their second best win was Oklahoma State, maybe. I know they lost. They lost to Oklahoma.
My only argument as to why if Georgia won, Florida State would probably make that 4th spot is because I feel like the committee would probably just put in all undefeated teams because I don't think that's ever happened before. But because Georgia lost, they then had to sit and decide between one undefeated school or like 4 or 5 different 1-loss schools that they could have chosen from. So, because we're forgetting about Ohio State. Ohio State could have made it too. They had a chance to get in too. Obviously, they didn't, but they had an argument.
Even last week, I was talking to you that if things shape out perfectly, if Louisville were to beat Kentucky a couple weeks ago, that really it would and they ended up beating Florida State, it would be between Ohio State and Louisville for that last playoff spot. Ohio State was right there with everybody else. For obviously things didn't go in Ohio State's favor, but they were right there as well. And then also, I do want to bring this thing up because not having your starter quarterback, it does matter. Like, it goes further than you think. And if you don't believe me, you should have just turned on ABC for the ACC championship game. That game was terrible. That was a terrible. It was obviously it was a good. If you're a defensive fan, it was a great game. It was a really good defensive game. But Florida State's offense could not move the ball. They put up 16 points. The first half, I don't even remember what the score of halftime was, but it was neither team had double digits. It was a terrible game, and so that gave the committee every reason possible not to put Florida State in just by performance alone was that ACC championship game. I'm sorry, Florida State fans, but you guys might say that you guys are deserving. You guys are a top 4 deserving team, but you guys are not the 4 best team. I will say that right now.
Yeah, and again, it sucks. It definitely sucks. Like, I can see why Florida State fans are mad. By the way, it was 3-0 at halftime. So, There you go.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah, I think it was I mean, they were showing stats for it the entire game. I'm pretty sure it was like the lowest amount of points in an ACC championship game in history, I think, for the entire game.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
Speaking of which, it's the college football episode, so we'll get into it later as far as like bowl games and stuff go, because I do want to talk about that, at least for our two teams. So there, I've got some shit to say, but yeah, I feel
Jack Plummer's not watching this episode.
I feel for Florida State fans, I really do. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think we got the best bang for our buck as far as the 4 teams that did make it, and I think it's going to be way more entertaining because of that.
And really, if you do want to dive in deeper, just as much as there is an argument for Florida State to get in, there's just as much as an argument for Georgia should have been in. Even though they lost to Alabama, let's be real, Georgia hasn't lost a game in 2 years. They're back-to-back defending champions. One loss is going to define their season over the past 3 years? I sure don't. Josh, I even told you, I was 100% confident, even with a Georgia loss, that both Georgia and Alabama were going to be in. Obviously, that's not the case. It didn't turn out that way. But I mean, I was right before the selection actually started. I was 100% set that it was going to be Michigan, Washington, Georgia, Alabama.
My thinking is, and what I really think happened, genuinely, I think when Georgia lost, when Bama beat Georgia, the committee immediately knew they were going to put Bama in immediately. Yeah. Because they're the SEC champion, they're one loss, same as Georgia, except Georgia's not the SEC champion. Yeah, best win of the year, best year maybe of the decade. That is a hell of a win.
Yeah.
But I think what the committee did, once Bama won, I think they immediately knew they were putting Bama in. And because of that, you might know what I'm about to say. They had to put Texas in. I think they did. Yeah. I think they definitely considered keeping Georgia in. I think they did. But because they put Bama in after they beat Georgia, which I think Texas they might, I think they did. I think once Bama beat Georgia, they were like, okay, Bama's in. And then they realized, oh shit, wait, we have to put in Texas because Texas beat Alabama.
I know, I agree with that. I 110% agree. Because, I mean, honestly, looking from the outside, if there was a world where Alabama snuck into the playoffs, and I'm a Texas fan with one loss that beat Alabama, I feel like I've been screwed more than Florida State's been screwed. Because we beat that team. We beat that team, and we're still not in. So the team that we beat is allowed to be in, but we are not. I think that if they, I 100% agree with you, Josh, that they did the complete right thing, putting Texas in. Mm-hmm. The correct thing. Yeah, both teams, both Texas and Alabama should have went in. Despite me saying that, I think I've even been on record here on the podcast saying that I think that Georgia gets in regardless. I agree as well. I think Texas is the right move. And I know I've been a big Washington fan all year, but I want to see the rematch. I want to see Texas versus Alabama part 2.
Oh yeah, so do I.
I think that, me personally, I think Alabama is going to be on a revenge tour if that does happen, and it could be a massacre. Not TCU Georgia type of massacre, but I think that Alabama could easily win that game by a decent amount. Obviously, and also I know Patrick Ewers, is that his name?
Quinn Ewers.
I don't know where I got Patrick from. I know he's been battling injuries recently throughout the second half of the season, so he may not even be 100% ready to go. So, me personally, I do think it's going to be a Alabama versus Washington championship, but I would love to see even more Texas versus Alabama.
Yeah, I really hope it's Alabama, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because, in all honesty, if Michigan wins the national championship, that fan base is going to be so unbearable. So
And
unbearable.
there's going to be so much controversy. Like, did they cheat their way to a championship? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's just going to have that controversy that, like, should it be taken away? Should it be stripped? I mean, their head coach, honestly, let's be real, has one foot out the door heading to the NFL right now. So there's just that's the one team that, even if Texas wins, that's the one team I don't want to win is Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah, and even Bama, who, I mean, I think everyone is tired of winning. Even Bama, I'd be happy if they won. Like,
Which, I mean, Bama, I feel like Bama hasn't won in a while now. Obviously, I know Georgia's won the past two, but even before that, was it Clemson before then? Or no, I'm sorry, LSU before then, and then Clemson? I feel like Alabama, it's been a while since Alabama's won, right?
yeah, I think
I
the
could be
last
wrong.
time I think the last time Alabama won was maybe Devontae Smith's Heisman year.
When was that?
Maybe.
2020 or 2019?
Let me look it up real quick. Let's see. Let's just look up college football national champions. I feel like it was fairly recent. Like, I almost want to say right before Georgia went back-to-back, Alabama won. I almost want to say that, but in all honesty, I don't actually know. Yeah, Alabama won in 2020, right before Georgia went
2020.
back-to-back, yeah.
Oh, wow. See, I thought LSU won before Alabama, or after Alabama.
LSU was the
I
year
mean,
before.
Beforehand, okay.
So,
actually, it hasn't been that
yeah, so
long,
I guess
really.
that was COVID year, wasn't it? So COVID year, Alabama won.
Which that's obviously, I mean, Alabama has a true, before then, when was the last time they won before that 2020 year?
2017.
So, I mean, obviously,
Right
anything with the COVID year,
in the middle of Clemson's little dynasty.
you know, anything with the COVID year that's always has a question mark, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many circumstances with the COVID year that there's always an asterisk mark next to it. So, I mean, truly, if you want to look at it, you could say Alabama hasn't won a championship in 6 years. So, I mean, Alabama hasn't been on top recently in the recent history, besides the COVID year, obviously. So, I mean, that I wouldn't be too upset with Georgia or Alabama winning it.
Yeah. All right. Well, assuming you're done as far as college football playoffs goes,
Yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about transfer portal? Some big names, some names that are tied to certain schools, because, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Definitely, yeah. Just whatever, yeah. If you want to start on, if you have something you specifically want to start on, we can.
Okay, so specifically, mainly just because it's on my mind, because it just happened, literally right before we started recording.
Tyler Shoot.
Texas Tech's starting quarterback, Tyler Shuck.
Shuck.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it, Shuck.
Shuck.
Tyler Shuck commits to Louisville, and he is a fifth-year senior, sixth-year senior, one of those two. I don't know. He's 25, old as hell.
Jesus.
Or he will be 25 by the time he plays for Louisville. I've seen a little bit of his film. I like what I see. He has a okay arm from the film I've seen, and he's got some legs on him. He's not afraid to take a hit. He's not afraid to gain extra yards if he has to, which can be good and bad. Because, you know, obviously you don't want your quarterback putting his shoulder down every single play, because that results in injury, which leads me to my next point. He has been super injury prone, which is the reason why he left Oregon for Texas Tech, which is the reason he's leaving Texas Tech for Louisville, potentially. There could be other reasons. He was high school teammates with Jawar Jordan, so, you know, that could be another potential reason. But he's been super injury prone his entire career, and I think with this signing, we could potentially see Jawar Jordan return. I think. We definitely could, because in all honesty, I don't think Jawar Jordan was going to get drafted, mainly because of his second half of the season fall off. And by fall off, I don't mean that he started becoming like bad or anything. He was still very good. He just kind of lost his solidified starting role. And I think everyone can admit that, because once Jawar Jordan got hurt and Isaac Guerendo had back-to-back amazing games, I think they realized what they had at that backup spot, and they started splitting the carries way more. And I think if Jawar Jordan is wanting to go to the league, which I'm sure he is, then I'm sure we could see him return and try to have another breakout year, maybe even a better year, and hopefully no injuries. But I'm gonna rant. I'm gonna not rant, but I'm gonna talk a little bit longer, Parker. And I'm sorry.
No, spit it out. Spit it out. No, you're good.
But with the Tyler Shuck commitment, there were other names tied to Louisville. There was DJ Ugalele, who is former Clemson quarterback and former Oregon State quarterback. And the other name that was tied to Louisville is, I got to look
Kyle
for
McCord.
it because
McCord.
Kyle McCord, former Ohio State quarterback. With the Tyler Shuck commitment, I think you can say goodbye to those two. I don't think we're going for DJ, and I don't think we're going for McCord. Kind of sucks in my opinion, because I think DJ or McCord would have been amazing.
Which, really quick, I to be honest, I don't think you necessarily, because Kentucky was also on that kind of hit list for McCord. I don't think neither of us would have gotten.
No. I think we were more likely to get DJ than McCord for sure.
For what I saw was like everything that I read, it said DJ. It was between Louisville and Florida State. You know what I mean? Like, it was down there.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, it's still between Louisville and Florida State. And for all I know, DJ could still choose Louisville. I don't think he is. I think the Shuck commitment pretty much solidifies DJ going to Florida State, if all the sources are correct. But I just want to say, I'm not saying I don't like the Shuck commitment. I think he'll be just fine. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be great. I think he could be great. His injury history just bothers me a little bit, and we know how good.
We saw that with Devin Leary this past year. Injury-riddled quarterback coming to a new program, and he just struggled.
Yeah, exactly.
Not really injuries, but just struggled in general.
And I think, me personally, I really like DJ, and he was high school teammates with Pierce, which is a whole nother conversation. But I think what this commitment and with Shuck coming to Louisville, what I think really happens now is I think they obviously have a position battle in the offseason between Brady Allen, Pierce Clarkson, and Shuck. Those three. And I think if Shuck wins, I think you can almost say that the backup could potentially get playing time with how injury-prone Shuck's career has been. But I also think potentially that Brady Allen or Pierce Clarkson could potentially just get the starting job. Obviously, they have to win it over Shuck, who has way more experience than them and way more playing experience than them. But like I said, he is injury-prone. And if that's something that this coaching staff wants to take a shot on, then I'm all in. I trust our coaching staff. I trust the Brahms. What I really want, though, is an upgrade of what we have now, which I'll get to later on. But if we can get an upgrade at the quarterback position, whether it's minimal or significant, I think that our team will be significantly better than the ceiling that we reached this year.
Yeah, I mean that the Shuck, as I said, Shuck,
yeah.
Shuck. He is a big boy, you know. I know me and you, Josh, we were talking about it the other day. I mean, what'd you say? He was like 6'5", 230 or something like that?
He's 6'5", 230, yeah.
Yeah. So he's a big old boy. And so no disrespect to Plummer, but I know he has his injuries, but somebody that is able to stand in and take a hit and maybe shed a couple hits and just have that longer pocket presence that it just, I haven't seen Chuck play. I might have seen him play, but never like really keyed into his play style type of thing. Just from his make alone, and it seems like he did have decent success at Texas Tech. He is a definite upgrade from Plummer, in my opinion. He is again, like, everything could change. I thought the same about Leary. I didn't think it was going to be better than Levis, but I was so excited for Leary. He came in and he just didn't live up to expectations. So that's a possibility of happening. But like you said, I mean, the Brahms have a good offensive scheme. They have they run a good offense, and if they are able to get him in sooner than later, start working him with the playbook, with the players, and just get that scheme under control, get it ready to go before the season starts. I mean, this time next year, we could be thinking, why in the world did we ever want Kyle McCord in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, there's always that chance. I mean, Will Levis at Kentucky, if there's not a person in this world besides Will Levis's dad that thought Will Levis was going to turn out this way, the way he did for Kentucky. So, I mean, it's hard to say right this second. We would have to definitely wait until he gets on campus, starts working out with the team, and then we can kind of reassess everything, exactly if he is even the possible starter for 2024. But on the other hand, I know you've been hyping him up a lot, Pierce Clarkson. I have seen some high school tape. Now, obviously, high school and college is a big difference, but I like what I see from someone like Pierce Clarkson. He looks extremely agile. He needs to put on a little bit of weight. I will say that, especially in college, does need to put on just a little bit of weight. But he looks agile. He's got a good arm on him. So that's another kind of, I don't know exactly where he fits just yet because he is so young. Do you commit to somebody long-term and when I say long-term, I mean the next 2 to 3 years, or do you get somebody in for just 1 year that's just going to get us through this year, keep us competitive, keep us getting recruits in, and then go full in on Clark? I personally think that is probably the best move, honestly. Because I would prefer have Clark continue learning the playbook, the schemes that you guys run and everything like that. But on the other hand, there's always devil's advocate. You could run Clarkson this year, and I told you this. There's gonna be moments that you're gonna hate him. You're gonna be like, why would you ever throw into quadruple coverage type thing? I mean, the kid, his last experience was high school football, where I'm sure he dominated. He's gonna have
they won the California State Championship and the National Championship.
Yeah, so it seems like they just steamrolled everybody. So he didn't really come up against too high of threats. So he's gonna make dumb mistakes. It's just how it goes in college football. I mean, these guys are 18, 19, 20 years old. They're gonna make mistakes. So do you rock with him for 2024? Let him get that experience under his belt, and then 2025 comes along, and he's a stud. Or do you want to get somebody for this next year while Clarkson does develop for just 1 more year and then just give the keys to him officially?
Yeah, I think, I mean, in my opinion, like I said, I trust the Brahms. I trust their decision. And if they think Pierce is ready for it, then I'm sure they'll give it to him no problem. From what I've heard, though, it seems like what Brahm is going to do is he's going to attack the portal very heavy this year. Very heavy. Like, we're going to have a very comparable transfer portal class, or even a better transfer portal class this year than we did last year. At least that's the goal from what I've heard. Obviously I'm not going to sit here and say it's guaranteed because I can't guarantee that. I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? But from what I've heard, we're going to try. And then in 2025, so next year, that's when we're going to kind of reset and start going super heavy in high school recruiting again. So
I will say, I think
as far as Louisville goes, I've heard that is what the plan is long term, is hit the portal super heavy again this year, and then once next year's offseason hits, hit high school really hard.
I think that we are somewhat looking at the new normal. I feel like a lot of these teams are just going to, the end of the year comes and everybody's just going to shut down everybody's gonna hit the portal, and they're just gonna have to reload back up. And so I personally I am, if that is what Louisville's long-term goal is, I'd be really curious to see how they pull it off in today's college football scene, just because how heavy not just Louisville but everybody else is. And I mean, let's be real. I mean, you can't compete, not just Louisville, but anybody can't compete if you're going freshman recruits compared to fifth-year senior transfers. It's just not comparable. So I'm curious to see if that is how they do it, how exactly they do it, and if it's successful or not.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting for sure. As far as some other actually, before we get into some other big names and some other schools that they've been linked to, let's talk about your school for a moment, because you guys actually have been linked to a couple guys. Obviously, as mentioned, Kyle McCord. You guys are linked to Will Rogers, the Mississippi State quarterback who's transferring, although his commitment seems pretty. It's not official, but it's not official, but his commitment seems pretty set on where he's going.
Where's that?
Washington. It seems like he's going to go to Washington.
Oh, I just got an Amber Alert. Hang on.
Oh, so did I. All right, well.
All right. Yeah.
Sucks.
You said Washington for Will Rogers?
Yeah.
That's actually, I kind of like that fit. I kind of do. I'm low key. I'm an in the closet Washington fan now. I will say that. I for some reason I've been liking Washington. I like their colors too.
I mean, it's been really easy to like them this year, though.
Right.
Like very, very easy.
But the one guy that has been most linked, and to Josh's knowledge, he thinks you can already call it a lock. I'm not calling it a lock until he is actually on campus, putting on a UAK helmet. It is Brock Vandagriff. If you don't know that name, he is the backup quarterback for the University of Georgia. So, I was reading about him, and some Kentucky fans claim that it's a bad move, that all he did was just fall down the depth chart since he's been at Georgia. And to that, his first year that they redshirted him, he was playing behind Stetson Bennett. You're not going to put an 18-year-old freshman in over a 30-year-old senior. Like, that's just not going to happen. You're not going to play him.
You can't put an 18-year-old over an NFL vet. That's not going to happen.
No. So I don't necessarily know what you mean by that. And then if you're talking about this year, he was the backup to Carson Beck, which no one really knew how good Carson Beck was. But, I mean, Carson Beck did his job, you know? I mean, people like Georgia right now, they have to decide, or they're waiting for Beck to say if he's going to the draft or he's staying for another year. You know, like that's a real possibility that he goes pro this year. He is a junior? Yeah, he's a junior. He can leave if he wants to. Okay. So, I mean, those are two back-to-back quarterbacks that have been phenomenal. I am completely content with bringing Vandagriff into Kentucky. You know, I mean, I don't know too much about him.
I just want to say, if we're okay, this is going to sound harsh, but I don't mean it to be harsh by any means at all. But if Kentucky fans are going to complain about a guy falling down the Georgia depth chart, what are we doing here? Because the backup at Georgia could start at any other bottom you guys are not a bottom feeder. The backup at Georgia could start at any bottom feeder SEC school any day of the week. Oh yeah. Again, you guys are not a bottom feeder. I did not say that.
No, you're just making a point.
I'm just trying to make a point. So
it was only a couple people that said it, but
yeah, there's always like those people. Yeah.
But I will say, me personally, I love it. Like, I don't know too much about the guy. I really don't. I know he's another big body, has a very similar build to Will Levis. And
he's
I
big.
told you, Josh, that I am expecting a very Will Levis-ish offense come out in 2024 for Kentucky. I like it. Now, There is.
Which another point, he's a former 5-star recruit, a former top QB in his class. Mm-hmm. So if you want to talk about talent, obviously at some level he has the talent. Mm-hmm. It's just all about getting the opportunity and getting the chance. Yeah.
The question now is, and again, it is unlike your guy from Texas Tech. Vanda Griff is not confirmed. Like, it's not official. He is coming to Kentucky, so there is that possibility that it could bail out. But
wherever he goes, it'll be confirmed this weekend. So
this weekend, yeah, he's making a decision this weekend. But we are stuck with this kind of quarterback issue because there has been no new news on Devin Leary. Devin Leary hasn't said that he's going to the draft. He's coming back for another year, and he also says that he has not put his name into the transfer portal. And I mean, I don't know how long you want to wait before you put your name in the portal because teams are spots are filling up. Like if you're looking to go be a starter somewhere, I'm sure you can. But if you are wanting to be with a competitive team, still, I mean, those spots are filling up faster than you think. I mean, even if nothing's official, teams got their guy. So if
I have a sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, go ahead.
You're good. You're good.
If I was just gonna say, the transfer portal, I believe, cuts off tomorrow or Thursday. So the window. Oh, is it is it open for that long?
I thought so.
Because there's two different windows. There's a window in January, and then there's this window. So let me look it up actually, because I thought it was only a few-day window.
But still, even if it is the 15th, my point still stands. Like competitive teams like Louisville, Washington, potentially.
So it starts December 4th and it ends January 2nd. So my point is kind of not as good as it was going to be. But what I think is going to happen, and I'm kind of stealing your take, Parker, because you kind of texted me this and then I kind of agreed with it. I think he's just waiting for Brock's decision. I think if Brock decides to come to Kentucky, I think we can see. We'll hear something the same day or a couple days after from Leary, whether it's transferring again or committing or going to the draft. We'll hear one of those two, in my opinion.
Which, I mean, he is. I looked it up before we started the podcast. He is, in some mock drafts, he is still projected to go day 3. He's still projected to go to a day 3 quarterback, or a day 3 NFL team. So, that possibility is always there. Coming into the season, he was ranked top 10 best quarterbacks in the class, which, I mean, in the draft class. Obviously, that could still stand. I don't know how many quarterbacks officially are going to the draft. So he could still definitely be top 10. But I do think that if we do bring in Vandergriff, hopefully he stays 2 years. He would be here his junior and senior year. And that alone sets up the timeline to be perfect, in my opinion, because there is a recruit coming in this year that I am very high on. His name is Cutter Boley. If you don't know his name, you will eventually. I think that he is going to be an absolute stud, and I am excited for him to come. That works perfectly, that like the timeline. If we bring in Vandergriff and Boley this year, you let Boley develop while Vandergriff takes the next 2 years, has the keys to the Wildcats, and then you hand it over to Boley. But then where the timeline does kind of mess up a little bit is we have the following year, we have another 4-star quarterback that has committed named Stone Saunders that I am not as high on, but he still looks great. He looks like he's a great quarterback. He is committed. And with Boley coming in, we'll probably redshirt him. So, I mean, we'll probably look at an extra 3 years of eligibility for Boley. Saunders doesn't necessarily fit in the timeline for the next 5 years, 6 years. He really doesn't, in my opinion. So, I could easily see Saunders decommitting between now and, I guess, this time next year, really. But at the same time, I am also, I said it a couple weeks ago, I'm also not opposed to Leary coming back for another year. I'm really not. If we give Leary the keys for this whole year, we tell him that you are the starter. You have the team all off season long. We are developing his game, him with the offense, everything like that. I think that there will be major improvements, and we'll see a lot more similarities to him back in NC State than we did this past year. I just think that it was kind of a rush process. You know, he didn't fully get to work with, because unlike Plummer at Louisville, which Plummer is another transfer, not only did like Plummer come in and have to learn this playbook, he already played with Braum before, and Braum brought this whole new offense into Louisville. So it was like a whole new learning thing for everybody. Leary, on the other hand, it was an established offense that we ran, and then you just throw somebody in there, and he struggled. He really did at the end of the day. So with Leary, I wouldn't be mad either way. I'm perfectly content, and I have nothing but good things if Leary or Vandergriff come back, or Vandergriff comes in, or Leary comes back. That's basically it. I like the quarterback situation going on for Kentucky over the next, you can lock it in for the next 6 years maybe.
Yeah, and it's interesting too how the two schools are kind of going about it. I think obviously Kentucky's been a little bit more reliant on the transfer portal as far as QB goes than Louisville has, but that's not a bad thing by any means. I mean, obviously it worked with Levis, and to an extent it worked with Leary, and obviously you're getting a great quarterback hopefully on Saturday in Vandegrift. So, I think both futures are still looking bright for both Louisville and Kentucky. But off of that, do you want to talk about some other big names that are in the portal and where they might be going?
Yeah. I think that we start out with Kyle McCord with anybody. I think that's the guy that we start the most. I did look at, a lot of people are saying that it's either Miami or NC State are the two favorites as of right now. Nothing's confirmed, but they are saying those are the two favorites. First of all, it just blows my mind that Ryan Day sat there and told McCord to his face that he is not the long-term option for Ohio State. It's just, I think it's a way for Ryan Day is scrambling to keep his job at Ohio State right now. Like, if you want to talk about a hot seat, I think Ryan Day has got the hottest hot seat of them all right now. I think that he is trying to do anything to give not only the school, but the fans, the boosters, everybody, some type of hope, saying that he is in the lab, he is working, and man, it's hard for me to sit there and say that that Kyle McCord is not your long-term future. I mean, the guy led you to a one-loss season, in a good conference. You lose to Michigan. Michigan's the number one seed in the playoffs. Like, it's not a bad loss by any means. Obviously, that's a rivalry you don't want to lose, but I don't know. I think Ohio State's really gonna, in the long run, Ohio State's really gonna mess up by not keeping McCord.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting decision as well, and also considering, like, what are they gonna do at quarterback now? Because as far as I know, they don't have a freshman coming in, or at least a great one, because the one they recently had, Dylan Raiola, he's the top quarterback in this recruiting class. He decommitted from Ohio State and committed to Georgia. So, and I don't know who their backup is. Their backup could be great, but I have no clue what Ohio State. Which, by the way, Ohio State is losing so many players to the portal. I don't know if you've seen how many players are leaving and entering the portal, but they have so many players entering the portal. Like,
that also makes me think that they could know something that we don't as far as Day's job goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, potentially for sure, yeah.
I'm looking right now to see if I can see anything about if there's a target on Ohio State's list or anything like that, but I'm not seeing anything.
Oh wow.
What's that?
I just found out that Deion Walker, your all's defensive lineman, probably your best defensive lineman, probably your best defensive player, I would probably say, right?
Yeah.
Deion Walker, is that fair to say?
Yeah. What are you about to say?
He didn't make first or second team SEC.
What did he make, third team?
I don't know.
Is there
a third team SEC?
Because we had 4 players make all SEC teams. I thought.
Yeah.
I thought Deion
just
was
right
one of them.
Just right here on all SEC second team, you got Ray Davis, you have Eli Cox, Barry Brown.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Walker did not make it. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was.
And Maxwell Hairston.
Yeah, all 4 of those players are the only 4 people. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Deion Walker did not make it.
It's kind of wild.
But to be fair, he didn't necessarily really break out until like the final 4 games of the season. Like when he started the season, he started out really, really slow. And I guess you could say the same for everybody until the Louisville game, honestly. But yeah, no, Deion Walker. I was nervous because I continuously see stuff about Georgia and Alabama both trying potentially to pursue Deion Walker, and I don't want him to go, man. I do not want him to go. Like,
I don't think he will. I don't think he is.
Dude's he's a sophomore, bro. Like we at least have 1 more year of him, potentially 2. I think only 1. I think he'll be gone after his junior year. But, I mean, he loves Kentucky. That is our one thing that we are fighting for, is that he absolutely loves Kentucky. He loves Lexington. So, I mean, if he makes it through this offseason after this breakout year, so-called breakout year from Deion Walker, I think there's a good chance he stays till his senior year, 100%.
I'm looking at this graphic right now. It has all the years that all the Heisman finalists have been in college for. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
So we have Jaden Daniels, who's been in college for 5 years. We have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's been in college for only 3. Normal. Mm-hmm. We have Bo Nix, who's been in college for 5 seasons. So same as Jaden Daniels. And then we have Michael Penix Jr., who's been in college for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. It's just COVID, you know. More and more players, or every year we're seeing less and less players get that COVID eligibility. But, I mean, it just messed everything up. I know Kentucky's got a 7th-year player, O-lineman, returning, which is just insane to me. It's going to be weird. I feel like it's going to be weird here in a couple years when we're only getting, like, 4, 5-year players whenever we're kind of used to seeing 6, some 7-year players. You know what I mean? Like, players that you know could potentially be here forever, only gone after 3 years, just like that. And especially with the portal and everything like that, I mean, at today's market, you might only see players for 1 year. It's basically like the NFL. Really quick, Josh, I found this article. Ohio State is going after Cam Ward, which I honestly forgot that he put his name in the portal. But Cam Ward looks like he is the top target for Ohio State. I'm not saying that Cam Ward is favorite there, but it looks like Ohio State's definitely going after him.
I like Cam Ward. He had a great start to the season. The second half to the season, though, man. The second half to the season was rough for that entire team.
I tell you this right now. I'd take Cal McCord over Cam Ward any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Yeah, my thing is I think Cam Cord is probably more so one of those quarterbacks that wins you games, whereas I think Kyle McCord is more of a system quarterback. Just because we kind of saw it this year with McCord, he kind of benefited from the Ohio State system and the talent that was around him, whereas Cam Ward was winning Washington State games. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the only difference. I think they're just looking for a guy that can win them games, especially with the loss of Marvin Harrison Jr. Surely he hasn't actually officially declared, but surely he leaves.
So does McCord play in the Cotton Bowl?
No, he's not. No, I think if you enter the transfer portal, you're no longer allowed to play for said school.
What if you entered the draft? I mean, or is that more of like a decision?
If you enter the draft, it's a decision. But if you choose to transfer, you're not technically a part of that program anymore.
Oh damn! They're like, pack your shit and go.
Yeah, which is wild because Ohio State is now without in their bowl game against Georgia, Missouri. They're missing their starting quarterback. If Marvin Harrison Jr. and Egbuka both sit out because they're both going to the draft, they're missing their 2 best receivers. They're missing their 3rd string receiver who entered the transfer portal. They're missing some, from what I've seen, some key defensive players who have entered the portal. I think they had a couple DBs enter. I know they had a D lineman enter. They've had a lot of players enter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. There's another school that has a ton of players entering the portal. I'm blanking right now on what team it is.
Notre Dame has a lot.
Notre Dame has a lot. Yeah,
Kentucky has a decent amount as well. UCLA has a decent amount.
Which their starting quarterback just entered the transfer portal. Their starting quarterback, who was a true freshman this year, he was a 5-star recruit this most recent year. He decided that he wants out, which is interesting, but I guess maybe he knows something about the program that we don't, or maybe he just didn't enjoy his time there. Or I'm not sure. But
I am going down the list right now of everybody that's entered today, and I am seeing a lot of Louisville. I'm seeing a lot of Virginia, and I'm seeing a lot of Texas A&M.
A&M has a ton of people. A ton of people in the portal.
They have a 5-star that entered, a sophomore 5-star. I wonder where he's crystal balled to right now. But like I said, Louisville. I see a decent amount of Louisville players in here that entered today.
Yeah, we lost a few guys in the past couple days. I think the one that hurts the most is Josh Minkins.
That's what I was about to say. It's like Josh Minkins.
He's been on the team for so long, and he's been such an ambassador for the program. He's been so good with helping recruiting, and he's a homegrown kid, and it sucks to see a hometown guy leave, but I think it was best for his career because he got hurt earlier. He was a starter at the beginning of this season, but then he got hurt, and then I think he tried coming back too early. And then he re-injured it, and then he kind of lost his spot from there, and so I think because of that, he knew that he wasn't going to be a priority anymore, so he decided that it was best for him to move on, and I wish him all the best, all the luck, because he was a great player for us, a great ambassador for the team, and just a very good guy.
What about this Isaiah Reed kid? He looks fairly good.
Yeah, he was a recruit in Satterfield's last season. So before Satterfield's last season, he was a recruit that came in. He just never saw the field. He just didn't get enough playing time. I'm sure I personally never saw him play, but I'm sure I know he was a highly touted recruit for us when he was a recruit coming out of high school. So I'm sure he's a great player. I just, I especially with how hard we hit the portal last year for offensive linemen, I'm sure he just doesn't feel like, he just probably doesn't feel like a priority, and decided he had to move on.
So on 24/7 Sports, they do have Brock Vandagriff 100% to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Not even not a doubt, 100%. On top, right above that though, which I didn't know about this. You might have. Riley Leonard going to Notre Dame. Did you see that?
Yeah. It's not 100% yet. It's not official, but that seems like the favorite to
24/7 Sports does have it 100%.
Yeah.
As well as they also have, like you said earlier, Will Rogers 100% to Washington as well. So, any other that I'm seeing? Other than that, that's about all.
Let's see here.
As far as running backs go, there hasn't been too many big names put in, has there?
There is one name that is
Ollie Gordon.
There is one name that is very interesting to me, and that is Purdue wide receiver Deion Burks. He had a very good season, and and I believe he is the top receiver. No, he's the third best receiver according to 247 in the transfer portal, but I've heard a lot of great things about him. And
wow, it looks like
one of Brahms' recruits. So I don't know if Louisville's in his list. I'm sure not, because he had a great season. So I'm sure he's looking to maybe go SEC or something like that. But
I did see, speaking of SEC receivers, which could be huge, this kind of flew under the radar. Texas A&M receiver Raymond Cottrell, I think I'm saying that right. He has went to Kentucky. He is a 4-star wide receiver from A&M. So that could, especially with Barian Brown.
Has he officially gone to Kentucky, or is it just
I'm
is
going
he
off
crystal balled?
24/7 Sports saying 100%. It says 100% to Kentucky, but like you said, that's also been the same.
Like crystal ball. Like he's 100% crystal ball.
Crystal ball percentage, yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So not official, but I mean that makes me feel very
practically
confident that we will get him.
Yeah.
So,
another name, Dillion Gabriel. He's in the portal, and he seems like he's gonna go to Oregon or USC.
Oh, USC's in there now.
Yeah, USC's in the race. I think they're trying to make a late push for him.
Interesting. Now, with Dillion Gabriel, to me, obviously we saw him shine against teams like Texas, or again, like in that Red River rivalry game. He absolutely went off. He had a great game, had a breakout game. I wonder if Oregon is trying to rekindle the magic that they're having this year with Bo Nix. And I just think Bo Nix is a better pet player than Dillion Gabriel. They have very similar play styles, but I think Bo Nix leaps and bounds just overall quarterback skill than Dillion Gabriel. So, I'd be curious to see what he does going to what is that now, the Big 12 or the Big 10?
Big 10.
Big 10.
Yeah, because Oregon's going to the Big 10 now.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another interesting one that I forgot to talk about. Yeah.
Which we're forgetting about that. I think when we talk about these transfer portal guys, like some of these teams are going to new conferences, so like they're probably these transfers are probably like weighing those options like super heavy too. You know, we see like Dillion Gabriel, his school is going to the SEC. So do we think maybe he transferred to avoid the SEC competition? Or because, you know, that's a thought to throw in there. Like, do you think he's a little worried about his draft stock falling maybe because of the SEC? Or, you know, it's a conversation to have. And, you know, we see we see quarterbacks going from the Big Ten to the ACC, like Kyle McCord potentially, or quarterbacks going from, obviously there's a lot of interconference transferring, obviously, but as far as the big names go, we see them linked to other conferences more so than not, such as DJ, who is potentially looking to go back to the ACC. So, very interesting.
Yeah, DJ, even if he does go to Louisville, ended up going to Louisville, I don't know what he's trying to accomplish, like, first of all, obviously, whenever he was at Clemson, they could not rekindle that same magic they had with Trevor Lawrence. And they tried to. He struggled. He very much did struggle. And it wasn't just him. It was just Clemson as a whole. All of Clemson struggled whenever DJ was there. But then
the funny thing is that they did worse this year than they ever did with DJ.
Right. Yeah. So just they weren't that elite level that they were with Lawrence and Higgins.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, and then he goes to the Pac-12, joins a Oregon State team. Is average, I don't know what they were projected at the beginning of the season, if they exceeded expectations or didn't hit expectations. But, I feel like he did pretty average at his job in Oregon State. But now he wants to come back to the ACC obviously I live in Louisville, so Louisville is a bigger market because I live here. But, overall, is Louisville a bigger school than Oregon State? Would you say so?
I would say so.
But also, I don't know
as far as market, media attention, I would definitely say Louisville is probably a better option than Oregon State.
And I guess Oregon State is also being talked about Oregon.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. They have another school that kind of overlooks them. So, yeah, yeah.
But now he's thinking Florida State, which I feel like is a very similar school to Clemson. So I don't know what DJ. I don't know what his goal is at the end of the day. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish.
I'm not sure either. I really don't either. But, he's a good quarterback. He can play. He's got a good arm on him. And
people said wherever he was at Clemson.
Yeah, and wherever he goes, I'm sure he'll do great.
Yeah. Unless he is the backup in Louisville.
See, I think if he came to Louisville, I think he'd probably win the starting job. I don't think he'd lose that job. Personally,
even to your boy from Texas Tech.
Yeah, I think he'd beat Chuck out for that job.
I guess does he have a commitment date or anything like that? Like whenever he's expected to make his commitment? No. I guess we'll have to just follow that over the next couple of days.
A lot of transfers don't actually set dates. They kind of just announce it, and then it is what it is.
Just out of left field type of thing.
Yeah, like it's kind of just like a random post type of deal where they just kind of announce where they're transferring.
Holy crap! Kyle McCord just announced his commitment to Ohio, Miami of Ohio. Something like that.
Yeah. But
wouldn't that be something?
That would be. I don't know what I would think. That'd be kind of weird. Wouldn't you think?
I have something. Yeah, but really quick, I have something interesting. You talked about it a little bit. What is the controversy going on with the Wade brothers in Kentucky?
I have no clue. As far as I have looked into and read, it seems like the parents had a bit more sway in the decision than the Wade twins did. Mm-hmm. And I only say that because right after they both announced they were transferring, their dad immediately took to Twitter and kind of said some things about the university. He said that the university didn't keep their promises as far as playing time goes, or they didn't keep their word about certain other things. And it obviously received some backlash. and definitely not going out on a good note. That's for sure. And and it sucks because I think because of what the dad said, the kids are now being attacked by Kentucky fans, even though the kids didn't do anything. Like I see a lot of people attacking the quarterback. I forget who's who. Destin. Yeah, I see a lot. I see a lot of people attacking Destin on social media. You know, calling him terrible, calling him not good, which sucks because he never said anything. His dad did, but he's just kind of receiving a backlash from it for his dad, and it sucks to see for a kid, just in general, like regardless of if it was a Kentucky guy or not. But I guess it just is what it is, though, because there's not much you can do.
Yeah, and it could potentially hurt their future as well. I mean, if you're a school looking to get these guys in from the portal, but you're seeing that, well, their parents have a loud mouth, and they're going to let it know if they feel some type of way. That could easily kind of turn some schools away from them. They don't want just the drama that, yeah, your kids might be able to play ball, but like if we take you on, we have to take on your yappy ass parents. You know what I mean? That can't keep their mouth shut. And if it really is a playing time issue, if they promise, which I know Keaton Wade, he played a decent amount this year. He was definitely, I don't want to necessarily call him a starter, but I bet you he started some games. But if it's like Destin Wade didn't get playing time, I mean, like you said, Josh, like this is college football, you know? Like just because Coach Stoops said that, yeah, if you work your butt off, you'll get playing time. Well, what if you didn't work his butt off in Stoops' eye? What if Devin Leary worked harder than you? You know, you're only a freshman or a sophomore. So, I mean, like...
Which, that's one thing the dad said. The dad commented and was like, you know, there's no reason my son couldn't have started over those guys, referring to Will Levis and Devin Leary. Whoa. And I mean... No.
I get it. I get it. You want to see your kids succeed. I 110% understand.
Yeah.
You want to see them get on the field, especially in a Division I scene. I get it. But to sit there and say that your kid should be starting, that an unproven kid should be starting over the starter of the Tennessee Titans, a national professional football team, is just berserk. It's insane. It's insane. And if you just look at history, how many freshmen or sophomores get the start for their schools? Not many. It's fairly rare to see a true freshman or sophomore actually start for their school, especially at the quarterback.
Yeah. Situations like that always suck, because then it just causes a bunch of tension. And it's just dumb.
I just, at these kids, they're adults now. They're 18, they're 19. Mommy and daddy can't shadow them their whole lives, especially if you have dreams of the NFL. Man, you really think that your parents are going to get you? You think if you're a parent, you're going to talk your kid into being a starter in the NFL? Like, just let them play their game. Leave them alone. If they're not getting playing time, if transferring truly is the best option for you, then so be it. Like, I hope you do succeed. You know, you're going to be a part of a Big Blue Nation forever. But to sit there and to have your parents complain or not even just have it's not like they're making their parents complain. But as a parent, if you're just complaining because your kid's not getting the playing time, shame on you, I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. I mean, there's competition.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you got anything else you want to talk about, or any players, anything, any other news that you could think of?
I haven't seen, other than what we kind of touched on, anything really big. I haven't seen too much. Do you want to touch on some of these bowl games that were announced?
Yeah, sure. So,
I guess we can start if you don't mind. I'll start with Louisville, because I think that's a very intriguing matchup. just because Caleb Williams is not playing. They are playing USC in the Holiday Bowl.
Yeah, so I think I wouldn't call it a good matchup because with no Caleb Williams, I don't think the USC team is even worth talking about, to be honest. Just because their defense is so bad. Like, we've talked about it a ton in the earlier episodes when they were ranked. Yeah. Like, once they kind of fell out of the rankings, we kind of stopped talking about them because we never really had a reason to. But, I mean, yeah, their defense has been pitiful all year. And to be honest, I think it's a game that Louisville easily wins. I see a lot of people saying that they don't want Jack Plummer to play in the bowl game. He will. He is. He's going to start. I think last game, the ACC championship game, was probably his worst performance as our quarterback. And I think he played too scared. He didn't have very good pocket presence in that game. And he obviously made some very poor decisions. One being where we made a very crucial stop on the punt, and then he immediately turned around and threw a pick in the end zone. Yeah, that is not a play that you can make. That is not a play that you can make in that situation. And if he makes that pass and it's a touchdown, we potentially, depending on how momentum sways, we could potentially be talking about Louisville as ACC champions right now. But that's just not a pass that you can make there. It very clearly wasn't open, and I don't know what he saw.
Perfect throw to make that happen.
A perfect throw. And it's not a pass that he's made before. So, right. I mean, I don't really have much to say about him. I appreciate what he's done for us, obviously. He led us to a 10-3 record. But at this point in the season, after watching him play all year, I gotta be honest. I'm tired of him. I'm tired of watching Jack Plummer. He's just been so inconsistent. He's been far too bad more than he's been good. And again, he led us to a 10-3 season, but at the same time, that wasn't him. At the same time, that wasn't him who led us to a 10-3 season. And he's the quarterback, so he's going to get that credit for doing that. But he didn't do that. He did not do that. And I would like to see somebody else play in the bowl game. I don't know if that's Brock Doman, who's our backup. I don't know if that's Harrison Bailey. I don't know if that's Pierce Clarkson. I don't know if that's Brady Allen. But I would like to see somebody else play in the bowl game. And that's just me personally. And that's no hate towards Jack. Again, I appreciate what he's done for the program. You know, his games against Notre Dame were amazing to watch. But, just at this point, I'm just kind of tired of watching him. There's nothing really else I can say about it. But other than that, though, just real quick, I do think we're going to beat USC. But that's it.
Me personally, I think unless Plummer himself comes out and says he's sitting out, I don't see a world where Louisville doesn't start him. You know,
I don't either.
If we're being honest, like if Louisville was going to bench Plummer, they would have benched him after the Virginia game. And I don't mean to sound like this, but since that Virginia game, Louisville has been extremely shaky on offense at times. Not like just ever since then, but I mean the Miami game, we saw it. They couldn't get the ball moving. The Kentucky game, there was times where Kentucky was just too much, and then obviously the entire game against Florida State, just for about a month now, Louisville's offense at times has been bad. So I think if if they were ever going to bench Plummer, we would have already seen it happening. But going into the last week of the year, I would be dumbfounded to see Brom bring out a new quarterback at the start of that game.
Well, I'm about to flip topics really quick. So, do you have anything else you want to talk about as far as our bowl game goes? Okay, so I just wanted to mention some brief history on the quarterback that we just got, Tyler Shuck. He started at Oregon as a redshirt freshman, and he led them to the Fiesta Bowl, which is a pretty good bowl.
As a redshirt freshman?
Yeah, as a redshirt freshman.
Oh wow!
I don't know if they won that game, but still, he led them to the Fiesta Bowl. That was in 2020. After that year, after his redshirt freshman year, he transferred and won the starting job at Texas Tech in 2021. He went 3-0 before getting injured, and that injury ended his season. But he went 3-0 before injury. He won the job back in 2022. He went 4-0. Got injured again in 2022. Ended his season. This year, he went 3-0. And then he got injured again. So, he's had 3 back-to-back-to-back seasons where he had a season-ending injury. And that is very scary to me. And I mentioned it earlier in the episode, Parker. His injury history is very scary to me. But if you ignore those injuries, he's obviously a proven winner.
He can play.
He hasn't lost a game as the starter. Well, other than his time at Oregon. But his whole time at Texas Tech, he hasn't lost a game as the starter. Mm-hmm. So that's a great sign. But that's only if he can stay healthy. And the injuries he suffered are pretty rough. In 2021, he broke his collarbone. Ooh, and then in 2022, he re-aggravated the shoulder that he broke that collarbone on. So much like Devin Leary, actually, he has a shoulder injury. And then in 2023, he broke his fibula. So
wow, that's a hard break.
A pretty freak injury career. But if he stays healthy, I think he could be very good.
Now, with all that being said, it makes me think that Louisville may not necessarily be done in the portal as far as quarterbacks go. But at the same time, it also makes me think that they could be doing this and they are getting Pierce Clarkson ready to go. As in, look, there is a 70% chance at some point you are going to have to suit up to be our starting quarterback. I mean,
or Brady Allen.
Or Brady Allen. I just don't know anything about him, so I haven't really.
Yeah, right.
Too much.
He was at Purdue for his freshman year, but then transferred here this year
with Brom. Yeah.
Yeah, with Brom. Yeah.
So, it. I guess they could just be like, Shuck is the better player. We are gonna ride with him. He's gonna be our starter. But you have to take in consideration that he is injury prone, and there is a chance that he does get hurt. Well, that's why we have this kid, Pierce Clarkson, or Brady Allen, down below, and they're ready to go whenever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it could be benefit. It looks like Louisville might be trying to build a backup plan if this guy does go down at some point in the year. They already have a backup plan. So, I mean, it really could just work out in Louisville's favor, honestly.
Yeah, and obviously I hope it does. But to pivot back, Kentucky, obviously, bowl eligible. You guys are going to be playing Clemson. So Kentucky versus Clemson in the Gator Bowl. How you feeling about that one?
First of all, I don't know. That Louisville win must have skyrocketed us. I definitely did not think we were going to get the freaking Gator Bowl. That's like a really good bowl, right? Like that's a accomplishment is to make the Gator Bowl.
Yeah, that out of the non-New Year's Six bowls, that's a tier 1 bowl. So
right, yeah. So I didn't think we were gonna jump up there. So I think that Louisville win really did help us out. Now we don't have Ray Davis. He is not playing. He is going to the draft, which does suck. I'd love to see him suit up one more time. But he is not playing. As far as Clemson's side, I don't necessarily know if anybody has already said they're not playing any big names. I'm a little nervous. We are not going to have our best player. Like that, same with USC. USC is not going to have their best player. Like that makes you nervous. That makes you nervous. At the same time, though, I mean, if we can do what we did against Louisville, minus the ground game, Devin Leary threw his best game in a Kentucky jersey. You know, like he was phenomenal throwing the ball. I think it's a game we can win. We've already proven it with beating Louisville. But you know, Sweeney is a great coach. He is a phenomenal coach. In my opinion, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I did a lot more at the beginning of the season than towards the end of the season, because I don't know if they switched up anything or not. But I'm not too familiar with Clemson, exactly what they offered to the table. But I know they are ranked 22nd with the final projections. They jumped all the way up to 22nd. So I mean, they must be legit. So I guess in some world they're legit. So it's a game we can win, but who knows? Who really knows?
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be a good game. I mean, I'm definitely gonna peep it, as long as it's not at the same time as our game. It should be a very good game.
Louisville plays on the 27th, which is weird. You guys play on a Wednesday.
Oh, that sucks.
We play on the 29th, which is a Friday.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that game and see how you guys do.
But what does suck is that we play on a Friday at noon.
Oh. Bowl game schedules are so awful.
Louisville plays at 8 on a Wednesday. But, yeah, noon.
Oh, wait, what are the dates, actually?
Louisville is on the 27th of December. Kentucky is on the 29th of December.
Oh, okay. I'll be able to watch them then. I'll be able to watch them.
We'll be able to watch Louisville's for sure. I may not be able to watch Kentucky's, but.
Oh, yeah. I just meant me. I'll be able to watch both of them. Sorry. No. Yeah, that should be a very good game. That's a very intriguing matchup. To me.
Yeah, it's better than Iowa. I'm just glad we don't got to play Iowa for the third straight year.
Man, dude, those games were brutal.
The first one was awesome. The first time these two teams matched up was awesome, I mean. But then the second time, it was bad. It was so boring. It was such a bad game.
Yeah, it didn't have Will Levis.
Yeah, Will Levis sat out. Potentially even Rodriguez. Rodriguez might have sat out as well.
Yeah, and I think some of Iowa's players sat out too.
Obviously, Ohio State and Missouri are playing each other in the Cotton Bowl. No McCord for Ohio State. I don't know anything about if that running back for Missouri is not playing or not. So that could be another good game. The Peach Bowl is Penn State and Ole Miss, which should be a great game, in my opinion. Should be a phenomenal game. But the game that I want to talk about the most is the Orange Bowl. Florida State versus Georgia. To shut up all debate about the college football playoffs, that Florida State can hang with the SEC schools, well, they are matched up against arguably the best one in Georgia. What do you think happens? No Jordan Travis.
Yeah, Georgia's gonna steamroll them. It's gonna happen. Yeah, no, Florida State doesn't have a chance. If Florida State wins, I will gladly eat my words. Gladly, I'll eat all of it. No, pause. But I think it's hard to tell with Florida State because there's potential that Keon Coleman, their best wide receiver could also sit out of the bowl game potentially and declare for the draft. You know, I actually don't know what year their running back is, but he could potentially sit out. Jared Verse, their best defensive lineman, their best defensive player, he could sit out and wait for the draft. So on top of not having Jordan Travis, they could also not have some of their best players, some of their best key players. And same with Georgia. I mean, Georgia could lose Brock Bowers for this game.
And technically, they could lose Carson Beck, too.
Yeah, and they could technically lose Carson Beck. They could lose more defensive players. They could lose more offensive players. It goes both ways. But I just think overall, team-wise, Georgia just beats Florida State in every category except for maybe wide receiver. Yeah, I can't really see in my head a scenario where Florida State wins.
I'm curious because both of these teams had playoff expectations, especially towards the end of the year. I mean, both teams thought that they were in 100%. And I want to know if these guys are even going to get up for this type of game. You know, like, are they going to do they even care? I mean, obviously, you want to represent your school. You want to bring home an Orange Bowl, which is a phenomenal accomplishment to win the Orange Bowl. But that's not what you guys wanted.
If Alabama and Texas lose, these two schools are going to be pissed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a riot. It'll be a riot from both Georgia and Florida State. But it just makes me think, do the players, now I'm sure the coaches will try to get them ready, but the coaches may think the same way too. Do they even care about this game? Is it just like this season's a failure at the end of the day?
I've seen people rallying for Florida State to boycott the bowl game. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think they would do that because I think the punishment would be crazy if they did that. But, I've seen people saying they should boycott the bowl game.
Well, I mean, that actually does. I mean, I could see it happening, especially with what the athletic director of Florida State said. I mean, he said some mean stuff to the NCAA, like some crazy stuff. I could easily see Florida State saying that no, we win every game you asked me to. We're not going to win this one. You won't reward us. We're not going to reward you all with the TV views, because I know that's a game that a lot of people are going to want to tune into.
Right.
Just simply because of the Ohio State not getting into the playoffs debate.
Right.
But
okay.
Yeah, that's the bowl game that I'm most looking forward to. I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess to end us off here, Parker, let's jump all the way back to the beginning of the pod. Our 4 playoff teams. The playoffs are set. Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama. Who you got? And tell me who's gonna win each game. Don't just tell me who you think's gonna win. Tell me the semifinal winners and the who you got in the finals.
Honestly, despite my what I want, it's simply off who I think is just going to win straight up. I think Bama does beat Michigan, especially with that viral video that went around of the Michigan players seeing that they have to play Alabama. They look terrified. They look straight up terrified.
That's a bad video to have go public.
I don't know who released that. Like, I don't know who was recording and yeah, like let.
Well, it was live. It was live. It was on TV.
Oh, was it? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because after every team was announced, they showed all the other teams' reactions.
Uh-huh.
And that was Michigan's reaction to Alabama.
It's a really bad look on them. It looks like you guys are terrified to play I shouldn't say an SEC school, but just Alabama in general. So I'm going to take Alabama on that side. On the other side, I do want Texas to win, but with the way that Washington has been able to handle business, not once but twice against Oregon, I think we are due for a Heisman Penix type of game, and I think Washington will beat Texas. So in the finals, or in the championship, we got Alabama and Washington. I think Alabama's just better. I really do. I think Alabama is and that if those two matched up, I think Alabama wins it. Or really, I think if it's Alabama Texas, I think Alabama wins that game as well. I think Alabama's the best team, the hottest team as well.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Okay, so I think as far as the Michigan-Bama game goes, I lean the same way. I'm gonna take Bama in that one. In the Washington-Texas game, this one truly stumps me because I really do like Washington. I know I took Oregon over Washington, but I really do love Washington. They're a very fun team to watch, and their defense has developed into something that's very good now. It wasn't the same defense that we see now, it's not the same defense from the beginning of the season. Even in their first matchup against Oregon, their defense was still considered not good. But then that second matchup hits, and their defense is actually very respectable. And obviously, their offense is electric. And Texas is the same way. I mean, their defense is good. Their offense is really good. I think I'm gonna go with my gut here, and I'm gonna take Texas. I don't think I really like Washington, and I said this for the SEC championship, but I wouldn't be mad at all if Washington won. I just think Texas. I just think Texas barely edges out Washington as far as all around better team goes. And I think that slight edge is what's going to get them over that hump. And then I think we're going to get a rematch in the national championship. And from there, I'm going Roll Tide. I think Alabama wins. I think Bama's going to win the Natty.
That's a crazy statement.
And I just agree. Hey, I can say
crazy,
that.
man.
I've got family down there. So
it don't matter. That's crazy.
I don't give a fuck. It's just words. But yeah, I just think Bama. I agree with you. I think Bama's just the better team in the playoffs as a whole. So I don't see them losing. I can see their games being close. Like I can see Michigan and Bama being close.
So I will say that if somebody does beat Bama, it will be Michigan. I think if Bama does find a way to beat Michigan, then no one's touching, or neither Texas or Washington is touching Alabama. I think Michigan's the only chance to stop Alabama in my opinion.
And I know Texas beat Bama, but this is not the same Bama. This is not the same Bama that lost to Texas at all. It is. This Bama that we see in the playoffs is powerhouse Bama. This Bama team, this is Bama. Bama back then was not Alabama. That was not Alabama. This is Alabama that we see right now. And, yeah, I don't think anybody touches them.
Yeah, me neither. I'm the same way. Now, once we get a little bit closer, we'll probably do like official picks. And obviously, if something changes. What would happen? Hopefully this doesn't happen, but let's just say, what if Milroe twisted his ankle right before the game? Buckner can't play, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he can't play because he's already.
So they would be stuck with a third string quarterback, and the national.
Who's probably also a 5-star.
Probably. I shouldn't be like. It's gonna be like a Florida State situation. But yeah, that could be something interesting. But we'll definitely make official picks of majority of the bowl games once time comes closer. We still got basically a whole month before the games actually start. So, I think we covered a lot today. It's more of a hodgepodge episode, and we didn't really have a script. We're kind of just sitting here chatting, talking, and like Josh was checking his phone, I was checking my computer, just seeing if there was any updates. And I'm sure we'll even bring it up in the NFL episode, if anything, further updates, just day by day. It's exciting times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun times, the transfer portal, recruiting. It's going to be a good offseason, I hope. And yeah, we appreciate you guys for listening as always and watching. We really do appreciate it on the last couple ones. Our last 2 NFL episodes have done very good. So maybe we shouldn't have done the college football episode today, but regardless, we appreciate you guys for listening and watching. If you did make it this far.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a longer one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what the time is, but I'm sure it is a little bit longer. Did you say that we did hit 100 views on the NFL one?
We either hit 100 or we're a couple under. But
yeah, so
pretty much there.
That's our first time. That's our highest viewed video. I greatly appreciate it. It's awesome. And then obviously continue follow the socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, anything like that for any updates or just clips and stuff like that. So yeah, and the support has been rising as of late, and it genuinely makes us happy because we're doing this for the fun of it, obviously, but if people are actually listening to us talk about and actually taking in our takes, it means a lot because it means people actually care about what we have to say about the sport. So yeah, we appreciate it, and also at the same time, I try not to be as boneheaded as some of like the analysts out there that is so biased to one decision that if you do have another decision, you're just an idiot. Like I can't stand that by like some of these bigger following just sports guys and stuff like that. Colin Coward, that's my main guy that I'm targeting here. But yeah. So we
try to be as open minded as possible to whatever take may be. But yeah. Again, we appreciate it, and we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys on Thursday or Friday, whenever it's uploaded, one of those 2 days, for the NFL episode. And, yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.